Welcome back, everyone, to the Liberty Intelligence Organization Network. We are a news recap show that's going to be going over a bunch of important information that you should check into. If you've been following us in the last segment, I was talking about the TSA, and this is part 2 of the TSA. This is also going to be the conclusion of Broadcast 1 and our police state coverage. But basically, sorry, my papers, my articles here are a little bit out of order, and I'm dropping some. And so basically, I want to rush through these. I'm just going to give you guys the headlines. Go look at them for yourself. Basically, I'm going to go to talking points first, then read through the headlines. The TSA, as we mentioned, they blatantly sexually harass people, but they also put journalists on their fly list. Journalists who speak bad about them. If you refuse or if you complain, they might cause physical harm to you. Again, I have an article here that where a man was smacked in his family jewels for complaining, or actually for refusing the full body scan. Here's another one where TSA worker steals $500 from traveler as punishment for complaining. TSA confiscates camera, deletes footage of checkpoint. Again, they don't want you to film them because they know that can be used in a court to bring justice, and they don't want to be brought to justice. They want to remain the criminal enterprise that they are. And again, they're supposedly searching for Al-Qaeda, even though the government runs Al-Qaeda. Again, that's going to be in the next broadcast. I've actually linked to some of that stuff already. But yeah, the government runs Al-Qaeda, but the TSA is to protect us from Al-Qaeda by violating our rights. Twilight Zone? Bizarre World? Sorry for the pause there, folks, but I was trying to come up with a word to describe this, and I can't. Because it is literally just, there's no words to describe this unbelievable tyranny that we are accepting for some reason. And again, all we have to do is talk about this to make people informed about it and to stand up and say no, and it will go away. But if we let it get to the breaking point, and again, I mentioned that they're in overdrive now. If we let them get to hyperspeed, if they kick the New World Order into hyperspeed, we can't say no anymore. If we stand up and say no, they'll say, "You're coming with us to the camp, you little American bastard." And sorry, folks, if bastard is not a favorable term in your words. If you want to make it sound more favorable, I add an E in there. So it's not the derogatory term. I'm adding an E in there. I've added an extra letter, so it's not the word that you think I'm saying. It's actually a word I made up myself. Again, it's Twilight Zone, so maybe that's true. I don't know. Russia Today, ex-TSA agent, we steal from travelers all the time. This guy used to work for the TSA. He was convicted of stealing more than $800,000 worth of stuff. That's all I want to say about that. I'm moving on. This topic really upsets me, not only because they're stealing outright, they're abusing people, they're destroying our rights, and they seem to enjoy it, some of them, and it disturbs me, it upsets me. And again, if there's TSA people that tune into this, and you're a good person, go public. Leave the TSA. I understand that it's hard economic times and it's tough to think about leaving your job, but this is important. If they start asking you to inject poison into people with needles, really, are you going to do it to keep your job, or are you going to stand up and say no? Here, I mentioned the journalist. The headline on this one is Geraldo Rivera, I was raped by the TSA. TSA worker smacked me in my testicles for refusing body scan. Federal screeners now crushing genitals as form of punishment. Again, I'm not going into these in detail. This topic is outrageous. TSA's mission creep is making the U.S. a police state. And basically, this is a foreign news source from the United Kingdom. And if other countries are calling us a police state, you better believe it's true. We are a police state. It is not a theory. It is a fact. TSA screenings aren't just for airports anymore. Again, they're moving this TSA out of airports more and more into train stations, subways, and other mass transit sites to deter terrorism. Whatever that means anymore, because as I've told you and as I've linked to, we're funding the major terrorist organizations. So if we're trying to stop them, why are we giving them money? Why are we giving them weapons? Why are we giving them training? Why are we doing this for the terrorists if we're trying to stop them? TSA releases Viper venom on Tennessee highways. Again, I told you the TSA is going to other places now. This one's off Ron Paul's website. If you can't trust him, you can't trust anybody. So you're already a zombie at this point. Stop tuning in if you're a zombie. Continue to tune in if you're a human being. TSA caught on camera engaging in obedience training. Did I cover this in the last one? Let me go through it again in case I didn't. Basically, this one's out of national news. Basically, what they do is they bring you through the checkpoint, they check you out. Then they let you walk away after they determine that you have nothing harmful. They let you walk on. Then they yell, freeze. They make you stop. They say, freeze! And you're supposed to stop. And they run up and they check you again. And then they let you walk on. And then they do it a third time. And again, that's because this isn't about stopping terrorism. This is about reminding the American public that they're to do what they're told when they're told to do it, no questions asked. And if you ask questions, then you must be a terrorist. So again, it's just to get us used to the idea that when the government tells you to jump, you jump. You don't even ask how high, you just jump. And it's very reminiscent, this article starts off by saying that it's very reminiscent of the Nazi secret security, the SS, the guys that in World War II were cracking down on the German people and making sure none of them said anything bad about Hitler. Again, Hitler was a bad guy. If you don't know about Hitler, go read some stuff about history. Go learn about your planet. Go learn about life. Stop living in a fantasy world. Stop being a zombie. Become a human being. TSA agent accused of stealing $100 from passenger wallet. There we go. Who did the TSA terrorize today? A 4-year-old girl? Why? She hugged her grandma. Again, hugging is now an act of terrorism, so if you hug people, do it privately. We don't need to see that. Get a room when you're hugging your grandma, you sick terrorist. Again, I'm being sarcastic, and I may have mentioned this before, but a lot of people don't know what sarcasm is. Again, go look the term up if you don't know what sarcasm is. And if you do, and you're awake and you're aware, and you see me talking about this, and you're like, what is this crazy guy talking about? Sarcasm. Everyone knows what sarcasm is. Well, you'd be surprised. Go out and talk to people in the streets. Ask them if they know what sarcasm is. I was literally talking to one of my friends. He's younger than I am, and he used to not think that the world existed before he was born. You know, I used to tell him about stuff that happened before he was born, and he would say, "You're crazy. Nothing happened before I was born." I mean, that's literally the way people think now. They think that the world began when they were born. How did your parents get there then? You know, they just appeared when you were born. Like you were born and poof, everything came into existence. Crazy. Again, I've woken him up. He does not continue to think that. But you know, that's just evidence there of how moronic people are becoming here under the New World Order. Again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Stay safe, stay strong, stay free, stay informed.